Hello and welcome back to Waadaplaya Concussion Sub Series. Most of the Indian fans I know will be slightly disappointed. Slightly is an understatement. Will be disappointed with the recent results in the T20 World Cup. Stay tuned till the end of this episode. For sure, we'll guarantee you will walk out with a smile and you will have something to learn. As you know, at Waadaplaya, what we try to do is we try to bring stories of cricket, and all of you today, you will find this an interesting episode which we have lined up for you. 2007. Most of the cricket fans will remember the debacle we had for the 50 over World Cup. There is another side of the fan emotion to 2007 too, right? We have today two storytellers on our show, and this is going to be exclusive episode only on Water Player to tell us why 2007 was a paradigm shift, as they're calling it, for the Indian cricket in their new book. Nishad Pai Vaidya and Sachin Bajaj. Welcome both and congratulations on your new book.
Yeah, thanks so much. And it's really great to be back. I mean, we did an episode. This was way back in 2021 during our first book. So the new book is here, right here. Limitless, Indian cricket's paradigm shift of 2007. As you can see, Sachin's also holding it up, and we got Mr. Austin Coutinho to do the caricatures again, like we did for Twice Upon a Time. So why we believe that 2007 is a paradigm shift, and actually Sachin came up with that title, so I'd let him talk about that. But my initial idea about this was that it was a year that changed Indian cricket and T20 World Cup. With that victory, India winning the World T20 as it was called, then a lot of things changed. So I let Sachin actually talk about the title. What was his thinking behind that?
2007 was a very interesting year for Indian cricket. The legendary Greg Chappell was our coach, and he brought about a lot of change within the Indian system. We had a bad 2007 World Cup, but what the Chappell era did was brought a lot of youngsters through. At that era is just about completing now. The guys who got the opportunity, like Dhoni is just finishing up, will finish up in IPL. Kohli's has a few more years left, but that era created the opportunity for these youngsters like Raina, Jadeja, and all to come in. The Srishants got more prominence, and Indian cricket took off and would have been easily, if you keep including the one World Cup win that we had, our most successful era in Test cricket. It's this change that Chappell brought around. In the overall picture, started the paradigm shift. What really was the shift was that our seniors were rested or did not go to the T20 World Cup. We sent a very young side out. We didn't have a coach. Lalu Rajput went as the manager, though he's a damn good coach. So he mentored that team. You had young Johnny Gloucester there, who was in his second year as the Indian physio. So we had a very young team with a very dynamic captain in MSD. We went to that World Cup fearlessly. I just played and won. And what that did was, it just made T20, which was on the cusp in India. I don't think we were that popular at T20 yet. ODI was still the number one game then. But it put T20 on India's world map. That's when the two things that happened then are winning this World Cup and that T20 game at the Brabant Stadium, which set us on the road where then IPL happened. And the rest is total Indian cricket history, not only on the field or off the field. Because what T20 cricket did was, it created opportunities, jobs for people in cricket and in the ecosystem. The success of the IPL, which was a T20 league, started other leagues in India. It changed the goalposts of our ecosystem in such a way that leagues grew, and it all started with T20 cricket, whether it's the Kabaddi League or the ISL. The roots of leagues starts with the starting point is T20 cricket, and the starting point of its popularity is this World Cup in 2007. So that's how, and we came up with the title Limitless because the possibilities were endless and limitless, and they are still growing. Because today, Indians have bought teams in various leagues around the world. Our umpires, scorers, managers, administrators, logistical guys are going around the world working in the top cricket leagues in the world, everywhere. So that is why I said Limitless. That's why how we came up with the title.
I mean, you explained this very well, but just want to again, ask what's the motivation now to write about this 15 years later? Are we saying there's going to be another paradigm shift starting from now?
See, this book was not written to predict a paradigm shift, but I think it's just happened in the last game. You know, like losing the 2007 World Cup in the West Indies, a catalyst happened. I think a catalyst will happen now. It's just because the Dhoni era is just about finishing. I think a new era will start in Indian cricket now. This era ran 15 years. It's just good timing that we wrote our book when we've written it. But I think we are on the cusp of another paradigm shift. The way we play T20 will possibly change. And I take a lot of positives away from this T20 World Cup. We had one bad day in the office, but everyone says we played badly. Does anyone say how well England played? They absolutely. I mean, you had two guys on that day. Even if we had scored about 240, they would have possibly got it here. It's just the way they played that day and for how they've invested. They've reinvented by getting Matthew Morton, building a young side. Morgan stepped aside to let Butler take the next generation and mentor the next group of youngsters forward. This, I reckon, wasn't a bad result for India. I mean, I think a lot of the people have overreacted to it. I think we'll have to make a few changes and we'll be back on our way again. I see no reason why we have to panic or worry. We missed a couple of young players during this World Cup, Bumrah specifically, and it did. And if Bumrah was bowling, possibly this game would have been a little more competitive. But let's not bag Rohit Sharma the way people are doing it. He's had a bad tournament, not up to his usual standards. But I'm confident he'll be back. And I think what Rahul and all have done, they will now take this again, review this and take it down another direction. I think we'll be on our way again.
This is your second book. The first one, Twice Upon a Time, India's Fairy Tale, Cricket Victories 1971, which you wrote about. So what can readers learn from this book, right? There's a lot of videos. Of course, it is telecasted. So what are you bringing out of the book? What should readers look forward for when they purchase this book or pick this book up?
There are a lot of things that people have forgotten actually, which happened back then in those few months. And obviously, when you look back at the success of the T20 World Cup, they just remember that. For example, what we've done is, like there is a chapter which talks about when India returned from the Caribbean, and there was horrible media outside. There was people collected, horrible stuff going on. Protests happening, and the people were thinking whether to. The authorities were thinking whether the team should go out of that exit or not. So they were taken out of a private exit, at the Mumbai airport. And cut to 6 months later, when they came, there were lakhs of people, and they were just fans who were celebrating the triumph. And so there are things like that. Then also we've talked about how MS Dhoni has rose up to captaincy. There are a lot of details that people really don't know about. For example, Dhoni had never captained at any level before that. His first game as captain was actually an India versus England A game on the England tour before the T20 World Cup, when Rahul Dravid decided to take a rest, and Dhoni was actually appointed vice captain. Then all the drama behind Dhoni being elevated to ODI captaincy, which happened during the T20 World Cup. People think T20 World Cup pushed him to captaincy. No, it was actually during the World Cup where India beat Pakistan in that bowl-out game, lost to New Zealand. There was a 3-day gap. They were getting ready for England, and Rahul Dravid announced that he's quitting captaincy completely. Now, Tendulkar was offered the captaincy, but instead he said no, and he suggested, why not let's try this young guy. And because I talked to him when we are, he said that we stand in the slips, and I talked to him about the game, and I think he's ready. So, imagine that vote of confidence from someone like a Tendulkar saying here's this 26-year-old guy who's less than 3 years into international cricket, and that he's ready for captaincy. And then it is after that India won the T20 World Cup. Dhoni was already appointed ODI captain for assignments after the World Cup. And also coming to something like, we've also looked at Misbah-ul-Haq's story. Misbah-ul-Haq is one of the remarkable stories of Pakistan cricket. And, for any subcontinental male, I'm not just talking about cricket, any subcontinental male Misbah Ulaq has to be an inspiration, because in Pakistan, like, or for that matter, even in India or other subcontinental countries at that time, if you are past 25, they barely look at you for the national team. Misbah is someone who made his international debut at 27, 28, comes back into the team at 33 in T20 cricket, and almost wins it for them. But after that, it becomes like he becomes one of their greatest test captains. So a little bit of his story, in the sense how he approached T20 cricket. So a lot of the approach, like India played fearlessly, but Pakistan had a lot of method, actually, because Misbah was one of the earlier ones who had already figured out how to play T20 cricket. So he was the guy telling the others in the team that, we can do this, we can do that. And Jeff Lawson gave us that. So there is a side from Jeff Lawson from the Pakistan side of things. From Lalchand Rajput, there's an Indian side. John Gloucester also gave us that. Dinesh Karthik also had spoken to us a couple of years ago. So that was really amazing. And so yeah, there are a lot of things that people may have forgotten. So we've just tried to get that all together, get that in a good flow, and so that people can look back and think about it.
I'm glad you touched upon the Pakistan side of T20 because I read the article, I think it is on ESPN Cricket Info, where they said 2007 team of Pakistan and 2008 team of T20 Pakistan is probably the best template if you want to build a T20 cricket community. So, lot to learn. As we said, if you're watching this episode, you will walk out learning something new.
The reason, on the learning from the book, learning is a very small part of the book for me. It's someone get a nostalgic mindset. You look back, and it's written in the simplest language. This is Nishad's style of writing. He's just simplified and made it a journey that, once you start reading the book, we feel the entire year, that entire event is brought back to life. That's what I really like. So it's in a stressful time. I think it's a fun book. It's a goodwill book. It's a happy book, and book should be written with that kind of a mindset where it's not about he said this, he said that, oh, he batted like this. No, this book is about having fun. It's about celebrating that year and celebrating how Indian cricket created something. It's a goodwill project.
And just to add on that, so basically, when we started off with this, we were this idea actually came on board in 2019, just before the pandemic, and it just didn't take off. But thereafter, when last year Sachin and I rebooted that, initial idea was to write really long, like a normal book. But then we changed it this year when Sachin said, why not, let's go back to what we did in Twice Upon a Time and focus on short stories, which is easy to read. And then one of my uncles, who's not so much into cricket, extremely helpful, because he could just read those short stories. So that's what made us go back to that format. So if you see, every chapter at max is around 600 700 words, not more. So it will be like, at max a chapter is around 3 pages. The font is also big. So we've just managed to do that. So the word length is around the same as Twice Upon a Time, but the chapter length may be slightly longer. So, but it's again not more than 600 700 words per chapter.
Yeah, works well with folks these days with having very small attention span. I think this is perfect. Having a small nugget, and they will live the moment back.
So Nishad, you mentioned that you've spoken to Dinesh Karthik, Jeff Lawson, Lala Rajput. Are there other interviews of players or anyone associated with that particular tournament, be it from some other team? Going back, it felt like Australia was the main team who could win the World Cup. The way they were playing semi-final, you have Hayden Gilchrist. So do we have perspective from their side also?
So John Gloucester is obviously one of those people who we have interviewed. But one more thing that what we've done is, there is a lot of stuff that is already on the internet. So didn't really have to talk to too many other people. Like, talking to these four gave a flow to the whole story, gave a guidance to the whole story. But then on the internet itself, there were so many other perspectives, so many interviews. So it was all about getting that all together and putting that in one flow. That we've really tried to do is get it all together chronologically. And there were 4 interviews, but a lot of research matter a lot of stuff that we've seen online that we've gone through, and we've actually got that all together. For example, I found this one interview of MS Dhoni where he explains the bowl out, and then he also explains what happened when it came to the last over of Joginder. So what was the thought behind it? So in a sense was that he said that everybody, he people forget that he had actually played Misbah Ulak in one of the A tournaments in 2004, the tournament that really MS came into prominence. So he said that I saw there that he used to play spin very well, and then he hit Harbhajan. So bowling a spinner was not an option, and which is why I went to the pacer. So there are a lot of these perspectives that we got together. You find a lot of things on the internet because we are so blessed at the moment. So it was all about getting it together in one shape, one form, and in that chronology.
Any favorite part of the book?
That's so one would be obviously MS taking over captaincy. The second would be I would say the passage that I enjoyed the most while writing would be the bowl out, just explaining the whole confusion where Pakistan didn't know that there was going to be a bowl out, and Jeff Lawson said that after the tie he found out, like he looked at the rules and that there was going to be a bowl out. And then also when it came to the last ball, so that was what we really enjoyed, because we've gone into various aspects, like one chapter is on why Joginder was picked, just on why Joginder was selected. In fact, Joginder and MS used to play local tournaments here. There were a lot of these local tournaments, and where apparently in one of the local tournaments, 4 runs were needed of the last over, and MS saw Joginder bowl the last over, and he gave away only 2 runs. So there was that backdrop. Then there was obviously Joginder was himself keen to prove himself, and if you see, there was a proper plan. People forget what Joginder has done earlier in the game. Joginder had bowled 3 overs for 13 runs and had taken 1 wicket, and that was a very good spell he had bowled. Nobody talks about that. So there were these things. Then we also spoke one chapter which is just about Misbah in that last over, and he explains, like, I went through a lot of stuff on the internet where he talks about that shot. There actually was method to the madness. It is just that Joginder saw Misbah move early, shortened the length, reduced the pace, which is why the ball went right up in the air. Then there's one chapter just on the moment where the ball was in the air, and it's just, it's tantalizing and it's going towards Srishant. Different perspectives. A lot of people said, they thought it was 4. Like Jeff Lawson said, I thought it was 4. Lalchand Rajput said he had shut his eyes, he couldn't see. And and then obviously Srishant settling underneath it, and what was possibly a second or two just seemed like a lifetime. So those are the kind of chapters that we really enjoyed writing.
Speaking of which, Sachin and Nishad, so what kind of emotions did the book invoke when you're writing or drafting? I know, Sachin, you mentioned that it's nostalgic, but any specific emotions you remember which are overwhelming?
See, I'll tell you, life is a great leveler, or it raises you and brings you down. Just the two scenes at the airport in 2007, the two World Cups where you're down and out and knocked one day, to the highs of within 3-4 months, 5 months, lifting the trophy and coming back with the same people cheering you. It tells you about life, that one day you're down and there's opportunity to come back again, and life changes and there's hope always. So for me, that is a big one. It's a story of two World Cups within a space of 5 months, and from, I won't say the depths, but from a rebuild phase to conquering the world was something very special for me.
We all remember how bad it was in 2007 when India lost the 50-over World Cup, and just the way fan reactions can be. In a sense, back then there was no social media for people to vent out. Today everybody is on Twitter, Instagram, and they just have a go at the players. But back then it was proper effigies being burned, players' houses being attacked. Yes, where looking back, it was, sometimes I feel like, for example, look at this, like now Australia, in the current context, 2022 T20 World Cup. And there's a lot that Indian fans and the ecosystem can learn even now. I mean, it's a little better, but we can still learn a lot. Is that, see, Australia, champion side at the time, and even now, like a complete a champion side, I thought in T20 cricket, one bad day and it cost them the tournament. I didn't think they were really bad otherwise. I think, a little bit of luck. On the other hand, Pakistan, with so much luck, they've gone through to the semi final. But so Australia, we don't see their fans, ex players, or being really hard. Criticism is one thing, but being extremely hard and unfair is another thing. And I think we saw the worst of that in 2007, and it has tempered down, but it can get a lot better. So I think, imagine this, like MS Dhoni's house was also attacked. I mean, in Ranchi. Then there was he was being chased around after he landed in Delhi. He said that he felt like a criminal being chased around, and he had to go into a police station till the crowd and media clears up. Then he could go where he wanted to, and had to stay in Delhi. From there to actually being called a national hero, it just shows, like Sachin said, how life, one day you're down, the next day you're up. But it also, in a sense, we also wanted to put it like a mirror to the fans that isn't it doing too much of both is actually not good. Just it's best to have a lot of perspective. It's sport. You will have bad days. You will have a struggle like India did in the semi final this time. But the thing is, if the same team had gone on to win, you wouldn't be saying a lot of things. So it's also a little bit of a mirror to fans that just chill, enjoy the game, but celebrate the victories. But again, when it's defeat, introspect. Don't have to go around and create a lot of drama, even if it's on social media.
Wonderfully said. Nishad, I want to talk about the caricature of MS Dhoni on your book. That's the broadest ever smile on Dhoni's face that I've ever seen holding a trophy. That's usually not what we see Dhoni when he's at the cricketing field. Something on that? Why exactly?
See, compared to later, MS Dhoni, the celebrations were more exuberant in that T20 World Cup after India won. But you see the way he pumped his fists, and you know it was a broad smile, because no, and he said nobody had expected India to win. They just went around, like what they realized was, what John Gloucester also told us was that MS said, look, here's an opportunity. He told the team that let's have fun. This is T20 cricket, let's have fun, but at the same time play with a level of seriousness. So you see that kind of his philosophy, that have fun but have the seriousness to win, where you're enjoying the process of playing cricket, but but you're still goal oriented, you're serious. But what it also did was that it threw fear out of the equation. And those are John's exact words. In the team there was no fear. Like, for example, one day before the India Pakistan final, John said this, that I was actually surprised by how little pressure there was. The guys were so relaxed, and it was because of the way MS was. And then at the end of that, at the end of the victory, some kid approaches him from on the boundary and says, "Can I have your jersey?" And he takes it off and he gives it to him. Imagine what that jersey will be worth today. I mean, if it was to be auctioned, and nobody knows who that kid is. That kid just got the jersey and went away. And then he wore the sleeveless and he came on to receive the trophy. So it was just the unadulterated happiness, I would say, that, was there on MS's face. Because, we've got to realize that MS, while he does not show a lot of emotion, the 2007 defeat certainly had hurt him. There's no doubt about it. So maybe in a sense, it may not have been like the others, pumping fists too many times, showing those aggressive celebrations. It may have just been this graceful smile that was, that look what happened few months ago, where maybe my house was being attacked, my family was uncomfortable, but right now, we are the champions. So I think it was a lot of that possibly was there, and a lot of vindication as well. These were young guys who were wanting to prove themselves on the world stage.
Where can our viewers get hold of the book? Give us some insight about where can they go and fetch their copy.
Right now, we are on sale on Amazon and Flipkart. People can even inbox us directly, and worldwide we'll be available on Amazon UK, Amazon.com. Because you're on Amazon.com, all the other Amazons will pick it up. So it's available pretty much worldwide. across many platforms. And the ebooks will be available, I think, in another 10 or 12 days across Apple Books, the Amazon ebooks, the Kobo, and all the formats on which ebooks are done will be available. So it's a worldwide kind of a book release. So you'll just about get it everywhere. On this thing in Bombay, it will be available at Kitab Khana. And one of the things I do is I identify 10 news vendors and I give them five copies of the book free, because to keep the news vendors afloat in difficult times when no one reads papers, we give them a few free books that they can sell out and keep the cash for themselves here. Let's
So
look
on,
at we are here to look after people. If a cricket book, you can't make money on a cricket book, but what you can do is this book will help some other people make money and maybe pay someone's school fee. So our idea is we'll give it to if any news vendor comes to me, he's got 5 copies of the book free.
brilliant. Good play. So on the same note, for people who would want to write a book or budding writers, what is your advice, both Sachin and Nishad? Where do they start? What are some of the best practices? What should they keep in mind for them to be able to feel that they've written a book and it's a meaningful book?
I tell you, writing a book is a confidence thing. You want to do it, yet you're saying, will it work? But it's about backing yourself, believing in what you do, and working as a team. So both Nishad and me, because we have worked as a team, we managed to pull these 2 books out of, and my other books have partnered with 2 other people and written. It's because we worked as a tag team that we, maybe it's good to 2 people collaborating in the beginning to start, that both play off each other and see a book through. Like in a cricket book, it's easier to collaborate than in a fiction or a non-fiction, or in a fiction book. So my idea would be for people, go pursue it. There are lots of companies like Notion Press and all who will guide people on how to publish a book, what it helps. There are enough tools out there which didn't exist 10 years ago, where people can be handheld and you can do it. See, a book will never make you money, but the confidence it gives you writing a book and getting it out, the satisfaction it gives you is priceless. So Nishad and me are always open to anyone. There is anyone who's watching this podcast today, they just have to get in touch with Nishad and me, and we'd be honored to guide them in whatever way we can and help them get their books out, because it's been a journey that we are enjoying. So if we can involve more people on that journey, happy days.
I'd just add to that, working together really helps, because I had tried. So, Twice Upon a Time was my 5th attempt at writing a book. It all came together because of the team that we've been able to create, Sachin and I, and that became possible. So then it was a whole confidence that had come that I could pull it off. But again, when you are writing a book with someone, uh, the good part is you can always you'll have common strengths, and you can always have strengths that aren't common. So you give those more preference. So for example, Sachin, back in 71, the book, he had read a lot about it, so could really focus on that. Like I remember him telling me, there were these things we've got to look at, and it made things a lot easier. 2007 was possibly my biggest strength, because at the time I was 16, 17, and with having followed so much, having researched before Sachin came on board, so then I could set the tone, and then Sachin could obviously follow that in a much easier way. So you've got to focus on those strengths. Sometimes one person may have more knowledge about the topic, sometimes the other person may have more knowledge about the topic. But one advice that I would say is that, see, the book will not make you money, as Sachin said, but the satisfaction it brings is immense. Secondly, you never know what it can help you with. Like, the book really helped us grow our brand. It really helped my career since the last year when Twice Upon a Time came, and that is what it's all about. So you're adding to a knowledge pool, and you're trying to make a contribution to cricket's knowledge pool, because I think cricket is one sport that has produced so much literature. So just adding to that is obviously very, very satisfying. And there are a lot of things like just make sure that through the journey you keep improving. So I would like, writing this book, I can definitely say we have done a lot of improvements from Twice Upon a Time.
See, I'm more traditionally an editor and a publisher than a co-writer. It's now that I've got into writing my earlier books that I did with Lisa Steleka, Justin Langer, Madhav Apte, where I played the role of an editor, presenter. But now my job is to find the next 10 Nishad Vaidyas here. Because I reckon I've created a monster. Nishad and me have created a monster in him. And a good monster, not a bad monster, because he's on a roll now. But to get, I'm not saying Nishad had a doubt on his ability, but just he was on that 49.8 where one had to push him to get into 51.1. Now he's like General Patton. You give him a headline, he's good for the next 50 miles. Nishad's good for the next 10 books now.
Awesome.
Because I'll tell you something. If you think Harsha Bogle was good, Nishad Pai Vaidya in 5 years will be a Harsha Bogle on steroids. That's what we have created jointly.
Okay,
I'm telling you, today we are lucky he's on the show with us. We won't have time to meet him in 3 years. Because he has the integrity, the values, the knowledge. And I'm telling you what's also helped him is his legal background. How to, put the data across in a way that someone understands it. So everyone has that potential. It's about someone coming and like someone comes me and gives me an idea, I snap out of it and I do something. Same way with Nishad, his first book got across the line. You see, the next 5 will roll now.
Amazing storyteller.
That's
Perfect.
very high praise, really.
One
I'm
day
always
I'll
touched
write a book on how Nishad started writing books. I'm telling you, I'll write that book. In 10 years, I'm confident your this thing will still be going, your podcast. And at that time, I'll come and tell a story of how Nishad wrote books. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. This is on the record, so perfect. Congratulations, Nishad and Sachin again. Fantastic. Looking forward for it. I can't wait to get my hands on. But before we drop, Sachin, as you are first time on our podcast, it would be great for us to learn from you. How did your association from cricket start? And looking at your shirt, no surprises who you're going to support on today's final. But talk to us about what is your association with cricket and when did it start?
In Mumbai or anywhere, Australia, England, Sachin has got the tremendous amount of goodwill. And one of the things that he always says that we are not in a business. We are into goodwill. So I think that is something that I've really learned from Sachin, and that is the introduction that I will always give for Sachin. The amount of goodwill that he has everywhere. So when I started 10 years ago, I remember my boss at the time introduced me to Sachin, and I was really amazed at the amount of work he was doing around cricket. And there were a lot of things. We kept running into each other in the Mumbai cricket circles. So thanks to his academy, Global Cricket School, and Sachin will tell you more about it now.
See, I basically was a Saturday afternoon cricketer at the Cricket Club of India. And my mentor was a gentleman called Raj Singh of Dungarpur. And I used to play. He told me, son, you have a passion and love for the game. I'm putting you on the cricket committee, and our cricket committee had Polly Umrigar in those days. I was a young man of 19, Sandeep Patil, Milind Rege. And I got an opportunity to work with Keki Kotwal, Raj Singh, some of the legends of cricket administration at a very young age. And that fueled my passion. And I was originally a stockbroker. And I said, while I'm still very passionate investor in the stock market, cricket was always going to be where I landed up, and one thing led to another. I helped set up Sporting Frontiers, which did the in-stadium advertising, managed Lakshman and Harbhajan, ran an IPL team as cricket operations in charge at Kings 11. And then I set up what's called the Global Cricket School that's still running today. We're not a massive business. We're not a business that's into valuation or trying to sell our business. So people say, can we invest in you? I run this business because I love it. I want to do this. If there's one way I want to die, is either writing a book or running one of my camps where a butler has come out to us or a Moeen Ali has come out to us. My last day in life should be on a cricket field or having got a book out, and that's the best way for me to go if I want to someday. So that's what it means to me. It's I tell everybody, I take this from the great Bill Shankly used to say, football is life and the rest is mere detail. For me, cricket is life. And cricket and my other passion, Liverpool Football Club, is life and the rest is mere detail.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Global Cricket School, obviously, Sachin and I, our association started because of that. So I remember Sachin one day just called me. We had known each other for a while, but 2019, he called me. He's like, I've got England A in town. Why don't you come tomorrow, manage some of the stuff and, maybe do some videos and everything. So we had quite a few test cricketers in that camp. And I still remember it was Dominic Bess, who was around, Keaton Jennings was around, Mason Crane, Zach Crawley. We got a first look of Zach Crawley, Dan Lawrence. Dan Lawrence was also around, and Will Jacks, who's another name you will hear, who's really good in T20 cricket. So, all these gentlemen have come through Global Cricket School and they come here to learn. And, one of the things that you always see is like how they come here, adapt to the Indian conditions, and all these academy tours, and how they all really love what facilities are there and everything. So that was really something that I really remembered and learned. And just before the pandemic, we had, Sachin, how many counties we had here? 5 at that
No, we
time?
had nine. Nine.
We had 9 counties. I lost count. See, I lost count. So I remember, we were going from, like, if people are familiar with Mumbai, we were in the Parsi gym, Hindu gym, and the Islam gymkhana, looking at them there. Then all the way we had to go to Cross Maidan. There were so many teams that even I lost count. So there was the really so much of young talent, and seeing that young talent, it really gives you so much of satisfaction. So I can imagine why Sachin started this, because of seeing those guys, like, obviously, looking at Dan Lawrence and Zach Crawley later going on to play for England, and you just feel that you've actually seen them here when they had stars in their eyes. They're aiming to go to the next level. So something like that, that is that satisfaction that Sachin talks about.
Brilliant.
See, I'm going to throw a curveball. I'm going to throw a curveball at both you guys. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys, how many? I'm not a big social media guy, so how many followers or people who view your program over the years you have? Because I'm going to offer you something. Just give me a number.
Right now, we have on our YouTube channel 803 subscribers.
That's good enough for me. And I want you to ask these 803 people a question. What should our next book be about? Give us a subject, okay? And let's create something for your 803 people.
Okay, sounds good. That seems
Put
like
your logo on the book also. Let's collaborate and do something for your 800 people. Let's serve them.
Yeah, we can see, like, for example, we've got the Global Cricket School logo, we've got the Niche Sports
We
logo.
just add your logo, and we don't want
Yeah.
no finances expected from you. We'll do this on a goodwill gesture. We'll put your logo there and we'll say created specially for your this thing. Let's work on a book together.
Sounds good to me. That will be a great challenge. I'm sure when our folks watch this show, there will be some ideas coming at.
Tell them we want to do something for them.
Excellent.
Yeah, put in the comments.
And all these 803 guys, what they owe us when they meet us is, if they meet us on the street of Bombay, they'll have to buy me a kala khatta or a limbu pani.
Nice.
Or they'll have to buy me a cutting chai. That's the only fee we will charge.
I think cutting chai will definitely go, because cutting chai fans, a lot of them are there in our group. Excellent. Nishad and Sachin, thanks for making time. Really inspirational. We will.
God bless you both. Keep your movement going. And today you'll have your 804th follower, because Nishad will send me the link to all this and I'm going to start following you.
Excellent.
So you're up to 804 now.
Thank you very much. Inspirational. Thank you so much for making time. Anil, appreciate your
both. Stay well.
Yes, for sure. And look out for those ideas coming through, Sachin and Nishad. Thanks for
we
watching.
will. First, we are like General he's like General Patton. Omar, his Eisenhower and Omar Bradley would give him a headline and he'd take another 40 miles of German territory on the way to retaking Europe. So give us a headline, we are good to go. Not a headline as in an idea, and we are good to go.
Excellent. Watch out. There will be a ton of ideas coming your way, both of you. Thanks for that challenge. Thanks for watching, everybody. Nishad and Sachin, all the best in your endeavors. We'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.